You may have heard me mention before that my first Mustang was a 97 Laser Red V6 5-speed. Very nice car. I bought it with 75,000 miles on it back in 2003. Now, I was part of the V6 community, and just like somebody in the comments had said on one of my previous videos, some of the best Mustang owners are previous V6 owners because they started at the bottom and they worked their way up and they can really appreciate the new Mustangs, especially as this generation of Mustang gets older and you have kids getting them who don't really respect them. Not saying that all of them don't, but there are a lot of young kids getting Mach 1s, GTs, cars that I could only have dreamed of having back when they were new, and they don't seem like they appreciate them like I do because I couldn't have it back then. And so today's story reminds me a lot of that time of being in the V6 community. So this is the story of Scott's 2000 V6 Mustang, and he purchased the car in 2005. And not long after he had it, he started modifying it, which is what a lot of us like to do. The first thing he did was a Mach 1 chin spoiler and Mach 1 grill delete, and he did a BBK cold air intake and a BBK strut tower brace. And the New Edge Mustang is a great looking car, and so at this time it was potent. It was 190 horsepower. And if you look closely, you can see the next thing he did was added dual exhaust to the car. So there's the GT rear bumper with dual exhaust, and I did that to my V6 as well. I think it's really neat. And so he added the 5-spoke GT wheels, and he lowered the car too. So he decided to put some Eibach lowering springs on it, and there's a Terminator Cobra front bumper there too. And he picked up a programmer and got the car tuned, and the automatic didn't really like the tune. It started slipping, and so he decided to go ahead and swap in a manual transmission. So he put in a T5, which is what the V6 Mustangs had, and it looked really good with the bullet Mach 1 aluminum shift knob and the nice leather bag and the trim ring around there. So it was coming together nicely. So next he swapped in the independent rear suspension out of an 0304 Cobra, and so that would make it handle better. And for some more power, he added the Windstar intake manifold for the V6. And as far as the interior goes, you can see he added dark carpet, the charcoal colored dark gray carpet, and the trim pieces there on the inside. And then he took the carpet out again and he changed even the dash out. So you can see the dash goes out, and here's a black, the midnight gray or dark charcoal, depending on what year it was. It's called different things, but added the dark charcoal interior to the car. And even better, after that, he added dark seats, and after the dark seats, the V6 seats, he was able to put in some bullet Mustang seats, and so those looked really good too. And so unfortunately, after that intake manifold install, about 6 months later, the engine hydrolocked and blew a rod out of the oil pan. So the engine was destroyed and the car was sitting without an engine. So it was then that he decided he wanted to do a V8 swap and pull out the V6 and get a V8 out of a Lincoln Mark 8. And he couldn't really afford to do it at the time, so he ended up selling the car and the engine to a friend who said that the friend would do all the swap and enjoy the car. Well, the car ended up sitting for about 3 years in the guy's backyard, and so he went ahead and made the move to buy the car back and do the swap himself. And he had to thoroughly clean the car out because some mice had made a home inside it, so he gutted the interior again, scrubbed it all down, and removed the rat's nests throughout the whole interior of the car. So once he got everything all back and organized, he decided to go ahead with the swap process, and he changed out all the wiring for a 99 Cobra body and engine harness. And the ECU engages are a match set with the turnkey install. And he even changed the cylinder heads from the B model heads that would have come on that Mark 8 engine. He swapped them over to C heads off an 01 Continental. And those C heads are the same design as the later 0304 Cobra Mach 1, like those generation heads. That's the C heads. And he also added an 0304 Mach 1 intake. And so the transmission was then replaced with a 5-speed Tremec, and he also added a C&L cold air intake. The valve covers are powder coated Ford wrinkle blue, which looks really good. And he also did a AJE tubular K-member for the suspension in the front end that lightens up the front end, and that's basically the cradle that the engine sits on. And along with that, he did Cook's long tube headers and a MagnaFlow catback. So the GT wheels have been swapped off for 0304 Terminator style wheels, 17 by 9 in the front and the 17 by 10.5 in the rear. The car has actually run a good quarter mile of 13.7 at 105, and that's really good. That's right where a Mach 1 would be, depending on the track conditions and all that. And in these pictures you can see he's added the 0304 style Terminator hood. And now he just loves taking the car to cruises and shows. Right now he's currently working on collecting all the parts to do an 0304 Cobra supercharger install on the car. So I think that's really neat. Some of the best Mustangs are V6 Mustangs out there if you're looking to swap in a V8 or have a V8 Mustang, because you have a V6 which wasn't really abused or didn't have the power to mess up torque boxes or twist the body or anything. So there's a lot of nice straight body, good condition V6 Mustangs out there, and they can be swapped over pretty well. A lot of people are doing Coyote swaps. That's pretty expensive, but this is a good idea. The 4-valve swap is very potent. It's a nice fast car. So I really like this story. This is something I wanted to do to my V6 Mustang. I had that in the plans before I bought my Mach 1. So I think this is pretty cool, and I'm glad he shared this story with me. This was a lot of hard work and a really big undertaking, and he did it, and I think that's really cool. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more of these stories.